Please welcome Valerie, who's the VP of Marketing at a stealth startup.
Hi
Um,
there.
she's going to be presenting experiential marketing, implementing B2C tactics for B2B marketing. Hi, Valerie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing today?
Doing really well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I will give you the stage, and then if there is Q&A at the end, I will hop back on. So go ahead and take the stage.
Sounds good. Let me just get my screen share live and make sure it loads. Perfect. Okay, I think we are good to go. So I'm Valerie, or Val, most people call me, and I am currently VP of Marketing at a stealth startup. Just started with them on Monday, so it's been a fun transition. And I'm going to be covering experiential marketing, really implementing those B2C tactics in a B2B market. So what does that mean? First of all, brief intro. Like I said, I'm at a stealth startup. I'm in the AppSec space, and I was previously at Jupiter One, which is in the asset management space of cybersecurity. I'm also a recovering entrepreneur. I grew a business for 12 years and grew it from $0 to 3 million in ARR. That was an experiential marketing company that we built, and then I divested during COVID and wound up in cybersecurity marketing. During that 12 years, I worked on major campaigns with a lot of B2C companies that you'll be familiar with, like Amazon, Nike, HBO, a ton of food and beverage companies, and really kind of built a lot of the experiences that they brought to market in the US, UK, and all over Europe. I am also a proud mom to a 9-year-old daughter. And I have an awesome dog who keeps me on my toes, and I love puzzles. Puzzles are actually what drew me into cybersecurity. So what are we going to cover today? First of all, what is experiential marketing and why you should care about it? As well as what are the B2C tactics that I learned in my 12 years doing B2C marketing, and then how do you apply them with a technical B2B market? And then how to execute at any scale or budget. At the end, if we have time, we'll also have some time for questions, hopefully. So first part, what is experiential marketing? I'm hoping enough people in the audience will recognize what this is. This is a Polly Pocket, but this is not just any Polly Pocket. This is a life-size Polly Pocket, and the people that you see in there are actual people. This was a collaboration between Polly Pocket and Airbnb. They created a Polly Pocket experience, and the whole idea there was to kind of pull in the nostalgia of Polly Pocket for millennial parents, the ones that grew up, learning about Polly Pocket and having it, and they're like either their friends had one or they had one themselves, and then really bringing back that nostalgia into an experience that they can then share with their children. The idea there is that you're building buzz around the brand, you're creating this memorable experience, and really kind of surprising and delighting. And so that was the idea, kind of introducing Polly Pocket to a new generation of kids. So how does that tie into experiential marketing? I chose this image specifically because it really highlights what experiential marketing is. It's all about building those memorable emotional connections with your audience through kind of interactive and immersive experiences that surprise and delight. It's kind of doing the unexpected. And by building that emotional connection between the brand and the buyer, you're actually able to stand out against your competitors. And in the B2B market, it also helps you weather this like season of like vendor consolidation in a little bit more of a rough economy. So this includes with experiential marketing, you're trying to call on all of the different senses. So creating a rich and memorable experience, sounds, scents, visuals, textures, even within the experience itself. Personalization. So you want to tailor it to both your target persona and, if possible, the individual attendee. And most importantly, with experiential marketing, you're really trying to tell a story. You're telling the brand story in a creative way. You're not just talking about your features and benefits and your brand values, but really bringing them to life and embracing your brand's voice in the process. And the most important part of experiential marketing is you're really trying to encourage that social sharing. You're creating those moments that are, kind of built for virality. And the idea is that by creating a social sharing moment, you're actually enabling your prospects and customers to tell the story for you. So why do you want to use it in a B2B market? Um, you know, B2C marketers really use experiential marketing to create that emotional connection with the buyer. And ultimately in B2B, we're also still selling to people. Yes, we're selling to companies, but you're targeting individuals, you're targeting personas. And so you're really just targeting people at the end point there, right? And so it really helps you, like I said, it helps you stand out in a competitive market. It enhances loyalty and retention through those memorable engagements. And really, most importantly, you're humanizing the brand itself. It's not just kind of a boring B2B tech brand or cybersecurity brand. You're really like humanizing the brand itself and kind of creating that connection. Because ultimately, like I said, B2B buyers, they're still people. And the key is really tapping into that emotional aspect of decision making. So what are some tactics that you can try that I've learned in the B2C market and that I've actually been able to deploy in the B2B market? So immersive dinners and happy hour events. I know a lot of you field marketing, you're already doing these things. It's kind of about taking it a step further, and I'll go over that in a little more in depth. Gamified workshops, interactive demos. This is not just your sales engineers sitting there and giving a presentation. It's about engaging with the individual, attendees. And then really like tactics for how to stand out at an industry conference when everyone around you is saying the same thing. They all have very similar messaging. How do you stand out in that moment? And then lastly, ABM campaigns that are about more than just a personalization. Okay, so first one is immersive experiences. Really, this is about shifting your focus away from the traditional like steakhouse dinner, Topgolf outings, the stuff that your salespeople come to you and say that they want to do. It's not going to create any memorable connection with your customer at that point. And so it's really about creating immersive events that have a unique and engaging theme. One of the ways that I did this with Jupiter One was actually, I'm actually going to build this out really quick, but essentially we built out a hands-on dinner. It was actually a cybersecurity whodunit. And we did dinner theater. We actually brought in paid actors who were improv actors who played different roles within it. Our CISO actually played a role as well. And the whole idea there was you had an immersive theme in which our prospects and attendees were actually able to go through and they were investigating within our platform and they were investigating the crime. And they were doing it in a very hands-on way that did not feel like a demo. So they were walking themselves through the product. They were given different questions to ask and how to like kind of solve this crime. And then they were able to do this without actually feeling like they were taking part in a demo. The entire hands-on experience within our platform was only maybe 10, 15 minutes total during an hour and a half long dinner. And so it wasn't super long, but the idea there is that we had a lot of people that came to us afterwards and were like, oh, I didn't realize you could do incident response in that way. And it brought us a lot of inbound, deals and pipeline. The other way is really, there are other companies that do this. There are things that are, you can do things like lightsaber training classes. That's something that Endor Labs does that I think is really interesting. And so it's just all about taking a creative approach to telling your brand story. Part of this immersive experience is actually we built in a lot of the outreach was really built around the entire experience. And so what I'm going to show you really quick, it's actually just a 30-second quick video, but it's
Hello, my name is Neil Yu, and I'm the author of the Cyber Defense Matrix. On behalf of the Jupiter One team, I
I don't know
invite
if
you
you
to
guys
test your skill at cracking this cipher for a chance to meet with me and other CSO peers at a secret location. But more on that later. First, let's see if you have what it takes. Go on, give it a try, and I'll be waiting with a new message on the other side.
Okay, cool. I am hoping that that worked in sort of in terms of the audio. If not, feel free. Feel free to reach out to me. I can share. We had an invite that was a video. It was sent to people. It was sort of like a solve the cipher to attend. And you had to have your invitation get approved. So it was a whole process of like kind of building the mystery around the experience itself. Hold on one second. I gotta go one more. I don't know why I didn't advance. There we go. Second tactic. So gamified demos. This is something that I know a lot of tech companies are great at doing, but I do still see some companies that kind of, they do workshops or other events, and it's like, you're forcing the attendee to kind of just sit through a product demo where you've got your sales engineer standing up there giving a really like dry demo and like walkthrough. They don't have to be dry. You have to learn how to make your product playful, shift into more of an active learning. And what that means is you're able to create more engagement by having them hands-on in the tool. And we did this through different gamified challenges. We did a Defenders of the Cyber Universe, which was essentially kind of like a team versus team capture the flag. Capture the flag challenges are super fun and pretty easy to deploy most of the time. If you don't have the capability within your product, there are tools that you can do that will help you deploy those sort of things. You can also just do it via step-by-step quests. We've done this as well, where you kind of have them, you gamify each step of the demo itself. So it's like first person to find this answer gets a prize, right? And that's a really easy way to do it without having to create a capture the flag or like a tabletop exercise. And most importantly, it's really just about, don't just show slides and have a demo led by your sales engineer. It's not going to stick. It's pretty boring. And honestly, they're not going to really engage with that very much. So the next tactic is really standing out at an industry conference. How we did this with Jupiter One is we always tried to create a really interactive experience within our booths and really engage in like telling the brand story through the booth that we did. This is the most recent booth that I did with Jupiter One. It was our cyber asset superstore, as we called it. We did have a competitor, Wiz, who did a very similar booth. Did not find out that they were doing it until after our booth already shipped. So that was an interesting experience. However, it was fun because a lot of people came and they were like kind of comparing the two experiences. And we got the very like, oh, this feels like the corner market. And that was exactly the vibe that I was going for. Went really vintage on all of the different assets and things like that we did within our store itself. And so the idea there is like transferring your marketing material and website messaging onto a booth is really just ineffective. You have so many companies that are all around you that are all saying the same thing. My favorite example of this is at RSA conference. There are two vendors that I will not name, and they have literally identical taglines. One is like your security ally, and the other one is your cybersecurity ally. And their booths are next to each other. It's not intentional, but it's like, it's hard to stand out when you literally have the exact same message on both booths and they're right next to each other. So it's really about kind of finding a fun and interesting way to tell your brand story. And like I said, we did this through different interactive exhibits and displays. The other thing you can do is, besides making it interactive, one of the things that we did in the very early days when we did not have large booths is we would stand out in eye-catching attire. For any of you that have met me at a conference, I'm typically wearing neon green pants. You cannot miss me when I'm wearing neon green pants. Do I like wearing neon green pants? No, not really. But it's one of those things that, it's an easy way to stand out. It's one of our brand colors at Jupiter One. And so it was like, okay, neon green pants, absolutely a way to stand out at a conference. And then you pull those memorable moments into your follow-up. And so we used to send emails out to our prospects and booth scans as a follow-up. And it's like, hello from your friends in the green pants. They're always going to remember those green pants. It's like one of those things that you cannot forget. And so even finding little ways like pulling something silly or memorable into your brand itself, from your brand itself, bringing that into the follow-up really, really helps tell that story. And again, it helps create that emotional, memorable connection. Okay. And then the last one is really ABM, kind of shifting from ABM to what I like to call PBM, or person-based marketing. The foundation for this is really around, I spent a couple of days, like 15 years ago, at a customer service training with the Ritz-Carlton. And one of the big takeaways that they have there is really they gather a lot of information about their guests, right? And they use that information to surprise and delight their customers. And so what this means is, like, if they notice that you're always taking the peanut M&Ms from the mini bar, like the next time you visit, they're probably going to have a bowl of peanut M&Ms sitting on like the table for you, right? And so the idea there is really zeroing in on your individual decision makers and learning as much as you can about them through conversation. So if you engage with them at an event and you've got a field event and they mention that they have a dog, or they mention that they have a favorite whiskey brand, or they may mention they have a kid, surprise them with like a dog treat for their dog, or surprise them with like a fun Lego set that they can build with their kid. Those sort of things help build those emotional connections. And again, they help build this like brand loyalty, and they really help you. It's like little personalized touches that really help you build that connection, and they help you humanize the message and stand out against your competition. So what do you do if you're on a budget? Be creative. I've done everything from, guerrilla marketing, like pop-ups with companies that did not have permits and did not have, really budgets for anything, and spent like a few $100s doing like a corner pop-up for them. So it's like by the time they notice that you're there, like you're already gone essentially. So you can be really creative with a budget. It's just about kind of like scaling your efforts based on what you're looking to do. So smaller, more immersive gatherings versus large, expensive dinners, doing digital engagements like virtual reality demos or interactive online experiences. We actually, during the early COVID days, we hired a really famous chef to do cooking experiences, and she would run cooking classes for us, and she would tailor the ingredients and the story around the message that we were trying to tell. And then we would send out kits we'd send out the ingredients, we'd send out an apron, we'd send out some recipes for them. And it was really a nice way to engage, and we would do kind of really fun Zoom experiences. Obviously there's some Zoom fatigue there, but if you are a smaller company, just getting started and your prospects are really far flung and spread out, that's a really nice way to do something. And there are lots of things like cocktail making courses and things like that that you can pick up on really easily. Most importantly, being willing to do some DIY is also a great way to make use of limited resources. Certainly did this a lot in my B2C days, especially with brands that were just getting started out. They really didn't have things built out. And so it's really about like being willing to do some DIY. With Jupiter One, as an example, I literally dyed 25 pairs of neon green jeans. And it was just, it's one of those things that like, you got to be willing to commit to the bit, I guess is the best way to put it. So how do you get started? Good news is you really don't need a big budget. You don't need a large team to make a really big impact. I actually did that corner store booth by myself, plus our booth vendor, and that was it. So I built out everything else. Make sure you come in with clear objectives and audience insights before you get started. Focus on engagement over scale. and most importantly, leverage any data that you have for personalization. Leveraging that data really helps you with building that personal connection. And then most importantly, collaborate with your vendors and partners to share resources. If you've got an AWS, if you have MDF funds, like that's a really great opportunity for you to collaborate with someone to help expand your budget where you normally wouldn't have that ability. Just to recap, because I do want to save time for questions if possible. It's really about engaging emotionally. Even your B2B buyers are really looking for that memorable connection. They buy based on emotional connections. And so it's really about creating that connection between them and the brand. Stand out, with creativity. Sometimes that means using a DIY approach. Sometimes that means using a really unique way of telling your brand story. And then anything you do can be scalable, right? So if you start out a program on a small scale, you can always scale that up. The data heist dinners that we did, which were the cybersecurity whodunit, we started those as a smaller scale, and then we scaled them up to a 120-person event in Las Vegas. So it's definitely something that can be done at any scale. That's it. I'm going to stop sharing. And if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, I do have one question before Jeff comes on and closes us out. So some people aren't creative, right?
Mm-hmm.
They come in and they're very logistics driven. I call people the blue. They really want to drive in, and fun is kind of not, they just come to work, they want to get stuff done. What's the best way to get our creative juices going and really like brainstorm some of this stuff? Because I think the ideas are great, but like, how do you kind of go through that process to get them down and decide what you're going to do?
Yeah. So I will tell you that like I am very logistics and metrics driven. Like that's just who I am. And so a lot of times when I need help brainstorming on something, I find someone who is like great at puns or great at like, silly ideas. Like sometimes it can be my kid. I'll literally ask her for ideas around stuff, right? Anything that helps you kind of get some creativity. And a lot of times, most of my ideas that I come up with, it's prompted by something that I experienced in real life. So for instance, the data heist, cybersecurity whodunit I did, my original idea around that was actually The Glass Onion, which is a movie with Daniel Craig in it. Like it was a movie, like a Knives Out movie. And I was like, I want to do something like that, but for one of our dinners. And it started there, and I just kind of expanded out from there. So it's all about like, if you don't have that creative ability, definitely rely on people on your team who are like great at brainstorming or great at kind of coming up with like funny puns and stuff like that. And then just like be like, hey, give me your most off the wall idea and just start iterating on it. And if you go back and forth, a lot of times you can achieve a ton in a brainstorming session. I will also tell you that when I have an idea, I do make use of AI where possible. Like I'll go into ChatGPT and be like, all right, give me a bunch of cybersecurity themed food products. And like it'll start listing things off, and then I'll iterate on it and like, okay, let's focus in on the categories that I want to focus on. And so then I give it more parameters and let it kind of go from there.
So look at that B2C to inform your B2B.
Yes.
Look outside where you normally are. Get your creatives. Perfect. Love it.